Now I'm just going live. We appear to be live. Turn off that preview because it's really distracting. It's Wednesday, December 7th, 2022. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight we are reviewing the anime Spy X Family. It's all right. So, yeah, something amazing happened. Something that hasn't happened in many years for some reason. Scott and I were at a gaming convention simultaneously to do a panel, and we played at least one tabletop board game at said convention.
And then we left.
Yep, then we left. It was a fun time, but still not at the point where I'm going to go to a con for a whole weekend. Even when I was out in Seattle, we spent a lot of time outdoors and tried to limit the amount of time we spent indoors at the con for all the reasons you might be able to imagine.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem is that, like, back in the day, right, we used to go to cons, and everyone we knew was going to all the cons. It was a big party, right? And then we were going to cons to do Geek Nights shit, and some people went with us, but it was less and less people going with us, right?
Yep.
And those people who were going, a lot of them had their own shit to do. They weren't going to hang out with us the whole time, right? They had to Artist Alley table or their own panels or who knows what, right? Or staff, right? So we were going to cons, especially Anime Boston was the one where this happened the most.
Yep, I was about to say, there's a big dichotomy between the gaming cons on this factor and all other kinds of cons, partly because gaming cons have a default of play a board game or know a lot of people who aren't in like the core circle who are likely to be at that con in normal times. Anime cons, I didn't have as much of that, and the people we knew are people who, what are you going to do with the anime con? I'm going to sit next to like my tool and watch something? Like, that's fun, but that's not as fun as other things we could do, like talk.
Right. So, like, what happened at Anime Boston is many times you would go there, and other than when we were doing our panels or going to the concerts or a few other...
Or going to that one Godzilla panel that one time.
Yeah, a few other things on the schedule that stood out to us, right? And then we go to the dealer's room once, go to the Artist Alley once, and then we had a bunch of time to do nothing, right? So we take a long breakfast and a long lunch.
Yep.
And so go to PAX Unplugged here after so many years, and it was PAX Unplugged is like they rearranged the layout a bit, but it was a happening, in terms of we went on Sunday.
Yeah, and our panel at like 11:30 a.m. on Sunday completely filled the room.
Mostly filled the room.
It filled the room. The official email I got, they turned several people away.
But anyway, the con was pretty happening, and the expo area was bigger than I'd ever seen it at PAX Unplugged, having only really missed one Unplugged, right?
Yeah, we'll get to that on a Tuesday show. There's some interesting trends in what the booths were at this PAX, actually.
Yeah. But anyway, for the only thing that would have told you that this was a Sunday was the fact that it ended early instead of going to midnight, right? So I imagine it had to be even bigger on Friday and Saturday. So it was happening.
Yeah.
It was a full PAX. Nothing at the PAX itself was lacking.
Yep.
But, because we did not have a whole bunch of people, at least our people there, right? There were obviously a bunch of people there, but they weren't our people.
Yep.
Only some of them were our people. It's like if we had been there for more than the one day, right? There was stuff I was not able to do, right? I didn't get to look at the first look area, right? I didn't go to the classic cardboard area. I didn't go to any panel other than my own, right? I didn't, there was more con provided content that I could have done had I been there an extra time, right? But even if I added all of Saturday, just one more day, I would have run out of things to do if I didn't have people.
See, now
play games with strangers
in a normal pre-COVID PAX situation,
or join the enforcers again.
But even if no one else we knew would come except the people who we knew and we were hanging out with on Sunday were there in a pre-COVID PAX, I would not have run out of stuff to do. But I do a lot of things you don't do. Like, I will go hang out at bars and after parties and meet people, and I will often...
That's not a PAX activity.
It's an activity that only happens because those people are at PAX. And I'm also at PAX.
I'm talking about things to do at the PAX.
But also, I will often, at pre-COVID PAXs, also then arrange in the convention to meet up with those people and play games and do things. The people that I met sometimes at the external event. And that's something
that's having your people there. People,
yeah, but I seek out more people. And one thing I noticed about this PAX specifically was because I'm in a mask and everyone else in a mask, I was losing my voice quickly because I was basically yelling the whole time. And also, I wouldn't necessarily recognize people right away. Like, I walked past our friend Pat, and I realized afterward I'd walked past him. I didn't recognize him at first.
Yeah, but so the thing is, right, I guess, like, over a week ago now, right, like last Monday, I got some kind of sniffly cough cold deal, and I tested. It's definitely not the C. I don't have the C.
You got the same thing Sam Rosen got.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be RSV. Who knows, right? It could be cold. And I was like, well, am I gonna go to this PAX or not with this cold, right? I probably shouldn't be going if I'm not feeling good. And so I was 50-50 the night before, like legitimately 50-50. And I'm like, well, you know what? If I wake up, because basically almost every morning I would wake up and have like a coughing fit situation, right? So I'm like, well, I'll just wake up tomorrow. I'll set this alarm be in time to get the train. And if I have a coughing fit and if I feel mad, I just won't go.
Yep, because it was covered. I could do the panel anyway. Like, I've done 3 PAXs by myself and one with Emily that you haven't been to.
And I honestly felt 95 to 99% recovered, right? Like, there was only the tiniest tickle remaining. And Rim, you were with me all day, right? How much you were basically all day from before we got on the train, right?
Well, you're like me on a normal day because I get non-COVID. I get allergies and I'm just kind of coughing and sniffing my way through life.
It's like at the PAX. Did I cough at the PAX? Yes, but like a handful of times. Like I didn't cough during the panel.
Oh.
I did a whole panel with no coughing, and then cough on the train. It's like, I coughed a handful of times. It definitely was. It felt like the day after you've definitely recovered from something.
Yeah.
It's a minor remnant, right? Okay, so I was like, good. I luckily healed just in time for PAX. It was a sign, right? That the timing was so perfect. And then I went to bed after getting home from PAX. And I wake up the next day, and I've been coughing all over the place again. It's already, the PAX was Sunday. We only went one day. It's currently Wednesday, and I'm still coughing.
And one thing I can say is in my normal life, like in old days, when I go to a con, like I would get a scratchy throat and be coughy after every con just because I mean, you know me. I just talk constantly. I just never shut up. So eventually, I learned to not lose my voice by doing radio voice like all the time and like being quieter. Like we had all these techniques.
To do with voice protection. This is illness.
But I'm saying in normal times, I'll just get a cough after pretty much any con or any major thing. I'd even get that after like major work events, just in my normal life.
Definitely the same exact cough that I had before. That is just.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not talking about your cough. I'm talking about my own throat situation. Because
no one cares about your throat situation.
Because one thing I've noticed is all the masked PAXs I've been to, even if I'm barely in the con, I talk so loud and I talk so much and I have to talk louder to hear myself and for other people to hear me that my throat feels at the end of these after like one day what normally 3 or 4 days of cons is how like that's how many days of convention yelling it takes to get me to that point.
Other people can hear you even if you can't hear yourself. You don't have to be that loud.
Oh yeah, but I found people repeatedly at all these mass cons. I often have people ask me to repeat myself. It's been a thing, so I find myself just talking louder.
Anyway.
But yeah, I'm pretty much still not diving into cons for the foreseeable future, but we'll probably be at PAX East doing some panels. But again, I don't think we're going to hang out at PAX East the whole time. It's still probably a little too soon for that.
Who knows? All right. So, I'm sure there's news, but I want to talk about something, all right? As I finally got Saga trade paperback volume 11.
I forgot Saga existed until you were like, "Oh, hey, I'm going to GeekNights Saga. There's more issues."
Well, I mean, because we talked about it, I think Rim read volume 1, and we did a show on it, and we never talked about it again, right? But Saga ran from 2012 to 2018, so there were 6 years and 54 issues, right? So there are 54 individual floppy comics in 9 volumes of Saga that came out over those 6 years, right? And then there was a major ending that Rim hasn't reached.
No.
in that end of that 9th volume, issue 54 had a major ending, like a big time ending.
We reviewed Saga in 2013.
Yeah, when it was about like 1 volume was out, right?
Yep,
Because
and we reviewed
6 volumes, the 6 issues came out in 2012, but like late 2012, and then the trade paperback for the 6 issues came out in 2013.
and for whatever reason, we reviewed it alongside also reviewing the Star Wars comic. Like, we did 2 reviews in that show.
Right. Well, that was around the time when Disney bought Marvel, and then so the Star Wars comics moved from Dark Horse to Marvel.
Yep.
Right. Anyway, so Saga, after a hiatus since September 2018, right, or whatever, I guess effectively a 3 to 4 years hiatus, right? Saga came back in January with issue number 55, right? And it's still going. It's every month there's another issue of Saga. It's going again. And trade paperback number 10 was recently-ish released, like a month or 2 ago, I'd say, right? That contains issues 55 through 60. So 5 more issues combined. And I'm like, Saga was, like S-tier graphic storytelling, right? Already.
Yeah.
But it's like, what could go away for 4 years, 3 or 4 years, have already this, ending beyond belief, right? And then come back and immediately remain at S tier, right? It's like, has anything ever gone away, come back, and not been, way different, way worse, way, maybe, or it's like, I can't think of any serial storytelling thing ever that like had a hiatus that was that long and came back and was as good as if it was never gone.
How long was it between some of those Venture Brothers seasons? That might be like one of the only things. Because Futurama wasn't that good when it came back.
On the Saga level.
I would say so.
See,
you don't know.
I would say that, in terms of just English language, right, graphic storytelling, that Saga is probably the best that has been created this millennium, right? So are you going to say that Venture Brothers is the best English animated storytelling this millennium? No, I don't think so.
It might be up there. I think it's a contender. You don't know. You don't watch anything. Spy X Family is definitely not. It's good, but it's not.
So Saga is back. If you have never read Saga for some reason, because you've never been listening to Geek Nights for, I don't know, 9 years.
I'll link you to our review, because if I recall correctly, our review was basically, oh my god, it's so good. Oh my god, just read it. When the thing happened, oh my god. And we were talking about like 1 or 2 trades.
Yeah, I think we need to definitely read Rim. Well, I've read everything. Rim needs to read a whole bunch, and then we can actually talk about what's happening in this story.
I should catch up. My interest is rekindled, especially now that I know it is coming out again.
Yeah, just to give you an idea of like how good I think Saga is, right? At some point, I don't know if it was moving or on vacation, I had all the original 9 volumes. They're gone. I don't know what happened to them. I lent them to someone. They didn't give them back. Someone stole them. I lost them. I left them somewhere. I don't fucking know. They're gone.
Just buy them again.
I ordered. They have a box you can buy that has the 9 volumes in a single box.
I see that box. It's on the website right there.
Yeah, I just bought that box to replace the 9 I had lost, and then I ordered volume 10. So I have all of it except for, the few issues that have been out. If you really want to, they do sell a deluxe hardcover set, and instead of buying 9 volumes, you can buy 3 deluxe hardcovers that will cover the 9 volumes. So basically 3 trades per hardcover. They also sell the Saga Compendium paperback, which is 1 mega book that has issues 1 through 54, so 9 volumes in a single.
Well, like one of those old, like the Urusei Atsura that would fall apart that had an 1.5 inch thick binding.
Right. So there are 4 different, and then I guess I don't know if you can buy it digitally or not. Let me check on that.
It was on Comixology, but Comixology, of course, has issues, and we've talked about that, and it doesn't really work that well anymore in the whole Amazon ecosystem.
Who knows what's going on with that? But I'm sure there's a digital way to read it. If you
Comixology and Kindle are still listed on the website.
If you have a Kindle Unlimited, you can get Volume 1 for $0 on Kindle. Right?
Well, that's definitely worth it.
Yeah. So there you go.
All right. So in some news, you may remember a while ago that Funimation, there's a whole situation where basically Funimation, which is Sony, bought Crunchyroll away from AT&T. It's still bad that though that list of nouns is together in one big corporate merger acquisition situation, but that happened, and people kind of wondered how this would go. We're starting to see the early glimmers of how this is going to go. So there's a story, but then there's a buried lead in the story. The story is now Crunchyroll and Funimation, they're basically replacing all their SKUs. So all the old Funimation SKUs are being retired, and all the things that Funimation put out are going to have new SKUs through Crunchyroll, confirming that they are keeping Crunchyroll as the primary brand for this stuff going forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you have basically two streaming services that are both streaming anime, right, owned by the same company. It's like the only real decision of which one to choose is like which one has more users and which one has a brand that people know.
Yep.
And I definitely feel like Crunchyroll has the better brand in the English-speaking world than Funimation does.
I think so. I would not disagree with that.
It doesn't really matter to them which one of them is the winner because they're the same fucking company. Just like, Grubhub Seamless, it's like it's basically the same exact website only with a different skin.
Yeah.
Right? It's like they keep them both because both brands have cachet in different areas, but it's literally the exact same website just with two different skins on it.
Yep. In fact, you even see lately there's a few restaurants near us where the same restaurant is listed with two different names and two different menus, but it's the same address, it's the same kitchen, it's literally the same restaurant.
Yeah. So I wonder, it's like why I thought that they might have gone with that kind of strategy of like keeping both Funimation.com and Crunchyroll.com. But no matter which one you go to, it's the same exact website. It just has a different logo at the top.
Never mind the things they sell. Like Funimation had DVDs and stuff, but I guess those are going to all be Crunchyroll SKUs going forward.
Crunchyroll has a shop. It doesn't matter. But yeah, the Crunchyroll brand is stronger, so it's also a valid business choice to just
but they warned everyone that
Funimation brand and go with the Crunchyroll
that
brand.
Many titles may be unavailable to purchase until the SKU migration is complete. Like things that had the old SKU won't be able to be purchased by anyone until the new SKU comes online for the same thing. And they won't give a timeline on that, and they won't say which titles are affected and when, but there's going to be like an ongoing thing for possibly many months.
Who cares? That's not a big deal.
So that was the article. Buried in this news article was a very, very important piece of news. So the entire world right now has generally been moving toward ads. So services that previously would just have a pay option, like say Disney Plus, are moving toward also having a cheaper tier where they shove ads in your face, but then they charge you less money.
I read an article actually about the Disney CEO change. Right?
Oh, yeah.
It was on The Verge, and one of the things in that article that they mentioned was that the CEO of Disney who just got ousted, one of the things they did was promise to Wall Street like big numbers for Disney Plus. And those numbers were sort of unrealistic and hard to reach. And so the reason that Disney did the ad-supported thing was it's a way to boost the numbers, right? They're just doing everything they can to meet the number that they had told to Wall Street too big a number, and rather than pull the number back, they did they would do the ad thing, right? Whether or not the ad thing was a good business decision, it was that they had a different goal in mind in doing it. So the fact that you would see Crunchyroll, right, getting rid of the ad, support free tier, right? It's like they don't have that kind of Wall Street motivator or other reasoning, right? So this must be for them what they believe to be a good business strategy.
Yep. So the new strategy is actually, I think, pretty good. So here's the deal. Starting with the spring 2022 season, like that was already up and out there on Crunchyroll, in March, they will no longer have ad-supported viewing for any titles going forward, full stop. Like, it is over. So
for titles going forward, but what about existing titles that already are ad-supported?
Existing titles will be dropped at some point, probably next year as well. So there will be no shows that are just free to watch on Crunchyroll with ads. You got to have a real account. That costs money. However, they said that the plan is to have every single show have the first 3 episodes be available for anyone to watch with ads.
All right.
Which is a really good idea. That sort of gives, one, people could check out a show. You know, we always said from RIT Anime onward and even Geek Nights, 4 episodes of an anime, 99.9% of the time, that's enough to figure out if you want to watch the rest of that show. 3 episodes, probably 90%. Like, that's still probably enough episodes to figure it out. So that means anyone who wants to try out a show could just watch it. Even if they like the show and they want to watch more, if they're hooked, they got to pay. If they don't watch anymore, well, they still Crunchyroll still got some money because that poor kid watched a bunch of ads while they were watching the first 3 episodes of that show.
Blocked them.
I don't think you can block those ads easily.
Yeah, you can block everything.
I have found that ads within streaming services are increasingly difficult to block, and a lot of services just fail when the ad block kicks in.
Anyway, so yeah, I think this is, when you look at like, the video game market, right, where you have sharewares and you have demos, it's been shown that like people play a demo of a game or a shareware of a game, like, the first few levels. And even though they didn't beat the game, they're like, okay, I learned, I got enough of an experience from that game. And they actually don't feel the need now to buy the game and beat the whole freaking thing, right? It's like they had enough. It's like they beat the demo. It's like that's an ending. It's like, okay, good enough. Right?
I mean, think back to Castle Crashers. You play the first 2 levels. That's the whole game. You're done. You're good.
Anyway, so so it's shown that like if you don't have a demo for your video game, you'll actually get more sales. You're better off having a trailer, right? The trailer shows someone that it's the kind of game they want to play. They're enticed. They see that they can't play even 1 minute unless they pay money, and then they pay the money, and even if they quit after 3 levels, you got the same amount of money.
Case in point, Cult of the Lamb. A lot of people bought it, and I think a lot of people didn't realize it's basically Binding of Isaac and not the farm, like the town building game they thought it was.
So, yeah, but with anime, it doesn't work that way, right? It's like you see 3 episodes of an anime. It's like, if you don't like the anime, okay, sure, you're probably not even getting past 1 episode.
But you say it's a show that you say you don't like, and then the 3rd episode, or in our case, the 4th episode, that Takumi guy, like, they don't actually finish the race. You don't know if he won or not. You're curious. You want to know if he won.
It's like, if you like an anime, it's like, you got to watch the whole thing. You can't be stopping at episode 3.
Right.
And so that's a good way, to entice people, because it's not like people are out there watching anime trailers. Anime trailers are not very convincing.
I mean, if anything, what I used to do back when I watched a lot more anime is I'd watch AMVs and almost treat those like trailers of if I'd like a show or not.
I mean, if I was an anime maker, I would make AMVs of my own anime as the trailer.
Oh, hell yeah. And you know what anime they actually did that for? Escaflowne. There are official music videos to Escaflowne that are out there. So in some other news, Makoto Shinkai's new film, Suzume, the one with the door and the hot boy and the clouds.
The guy turns into a chair.
I was going to say that in a second. The show that is about clouds and colorful skies and girls with long dark hair who tie their hair back with long red ribbons and hot guy, and I guess the guy turns into a chair and there's a cube, and this movie looks like it's all over the place in the kind of way that we like.
It's been out for a while.
Yep.
In Japan.
We now have the dates. April 12th, 13th, and 14th. There will be theater screenings everywhere in the world outside of Asia where there's a market. So April 14th is the day for the United States and the United Kingdom. You can check this website to figure out if your country is covered. So April 14th, there will almost definitely be multiple screenings of Suzume at theaters in New York City. I'm just going to put a note in my calendar, and remember, I assume we're all going to go see this movie on April 14th.
Despite the fact that, Shinkai has not been, he had the Your Name, which was the global sensation, but
one of the most popular animated movies ever.
Yeah. Despite the fact that we personally don't put him as good as, some of the other contemporaries right now, still going to go see it.
Yeah.
And other news of movies coming to the United States, right? Shin Ultraman, which came out in Japan much earlier this year, is finally going to be in theaters in the U.S. on January. So they had to wait for a whole year.
Oh, yeah, I see Astoria Kaufman, January 11th.
January 11th, 2023, there will be a subtitled, screening. And January 12th, there will be a dubbed screening. So perhaps some of the time it took to bring it over was because they really wanted to make that dub. And you got to presume that, after this movie comes out, in the theater in January, there's going to be all kinds of, streaming and DVD, Blu-ray, and all that. You're going to be able to watch Shin Ultraman. So I really want to watch it, and I'm probably going to go on January 11th.
Yeah. But anyway, things of the day. So I cannot stress enough, Disco Elysium is one of the best single-player games I've played since Breath of the Wild. It's just that good. Now I'm going to dive into Pentiment, which is in many ways mechanically and thematically similar, though they are very different games. So most likely our next Tuesday show, we're going to review Pentiment. But I like Disco Elysium enough, I'm playing it through a second time. And my thing of the day is a little animatic music video someone made to Disco Elysium, but it's to a song. And this video is great. Like, this is really funny. If you haven't played the game, it's still funny. If you played the game, it is extremely funny and extremely poignant. However, the song, if you just watch this, you might think, clearly some nerds made this song to go with this video to make fun of Disco Elysium. It's too on the nose. It's too close to what happens, like what the actual game is about. So, my thing of the day is not so much that video. It is the band that made the song. The song is called Party Time by the Northern Boys, and they actually have a music video. And the Northern Boys are basically three old men who sing about how deeply sad sack their lives are, and it is fantastic. It is really funny. I recommend this band. It's actually a pretty good song, but the lyrics are... This is extremely dark humor, and we'll leave it at that. So what do you got?
So recently I was talking with someone about some, old vinyl records, right? And they were talking about how like they had Sesame Street vinyls and and I was like, well, I didn't realize the C is for Cookie came out on vinyl. That's pretty cool, right? And then I remembered when I was a kid that I had a Pac-Man vinyl record of some kind. And I remember when I got it as like a gift, I think. And it was just so weird to me because up until that point, every vinyl record I had ever seen was just some sort of like actual album by a band of some sort, right? Like, Rolling Stones, something album, right? Like I'd never seen a vinyl album that wasn't, something else. I had seen cassette tapes that were like, listen and read, with a book because you're a
Wait,
kid.
how not? My childhood was filled with vinyls that had like coloring books and activity books with them.
No, all the ones that I had that were some sort of kids thing that weren't, an album were cassette tapes for my Fisher-Price cassette player. Even though I had a Big Bird record player.
I had that Big Bird record player.
The Big Bird record player played, Queen or whatever, right? It's like,
wasn't the Big Bird record player for 45s? Like I feel like it was small. I don't remember now.
You could put either one on there, but yeah, it was the if you put on a full size vinyl, it would sort of hang over the edge, but it worked. Anyway.
Yep.
So I had this Pac-Man album when I was a kid, and I looked it up. It's called The Amazing Adventures of Pac-Man. It was put out by Kid Stuff Records and Tapes. And was it rare? Did I experience some album that like no one's ever heard of and I had like an ultra rare thing and it's gone now? Absolutely not. It was common as dirt. Everyone's heard this fucking thing. It was all over the place. Kids in the 80s had this thing all over. So it's on YouTube. You can just listen to it. It's really bad and painful. It's narrated by, people who think that this will be entertaining for children.
The 7-minute and 9-second mark is where you think it's as dire as it could be, and it's somehow worse after that point.
And they want to make money because it's 1980 something, and Pac-Man is like a huge craze right now.
Like if you think White Knuckle Scoring was a cynical cash grab, then it's got nothing on this Pac-Man thing.
Yeah, so go on, if you got some minutes, go on YouTube and listen to the vinyl album, The Amazing Adventures of Pac-Man. I just want to point out one thing. I actually learned something about Pac-Man that I did not know. I was under the impression until just now, when re-listening to this album, right? At least a few minutes of it. That the names of the Pac-Man ghosts were Blinky, Pinky, Inky, and Clyde, right?
Yeah.
Those are the names. I've always called them those 4 names. And that's not wrong, but apparently the truth is that their actual names are obviously Japanese names, right? Oikake, Machibuse, Kimagure, and Otoboke. And those translate to chaser, ambusher, fickle, and stupid.
Yep.
This is according to Wikipedia.
I found out ABC News has an article that explains this, actually, weirdly enough.
Okay. I'm reading on Wikipedia. But on the album, they call the ghosts Shadow, Speedy, Bashful, and Pokey. And I'm like, whoa, did they just get the names wrong on this album?
It sounds like they took the Japanese and just translated it themselves badly.
That's not true at all. What happened is that Midway Games, when they brought Pac-Man to the United States, they changed the names of the ghosts to Shadow, Speedy, Bashful, and Pokey. And then if you actually look at a Pac-Man machine and actually pay attention to what's on the screen, which I've never done apparently, it actually says on the screen of Pac-Man, you can go to Wikipedia for Ghosts Pac-Man. They have their own page, right? Just for the ghosts. And sure enough, their real names are, at least in English, according to Midway, are Shadow, Speedy, Bashful, and Pokey. And Blinky, Pinky, Inky, and Clyde are their nicknames.
All right.
English canon.
That's a fairly elegant way around that.
So I just never realized that those were nicknames. I thought that those are their real names in English. And I was wrong. And the album actually got their real names right-ish. I mean, I guess the only way to be more right would have been to call them Oikake. I don't think they're going to be doing that. So
I love these track names, too. We've got Pac-Man Theme. We've got Take the Fruit and Scoot, Slightly Lazy Crazy Day, and The Chase.
Yep. I also like that on the cover of the album, like this like rat guy who's not a character in Pac-Man at all. But they needed more characters because just Pac-Man and 4 ghosts.
Also, what's the ghost doing with that fruit in the background?
Well, in the story is that they're all in Pacville, and Pacville is all about fruit and also pretzels.
Yep, as we know from the NES game Pac-Man, that is not the Pac-Man you all know.
Yeah, I guess Dig Dug must be digging under Pacville. That's why.
Ah.
I don't know. Where does the Galaga ship come from, though?
Don't go too deep into that lore. You'll go crazy. In the meta moment, the GeekNights Book Club book is Alif, the Unseen. I expect
read a few chapters.
I expect in January we'll do an episode on it. It's not going to be a super long read, but it's not going to be as fast as Binti.
Yeah. I read a few chapters. Stuff's moving along. It's all, you got a cyberpunk dude. He's hacking and he's getting in trouble.
Yep.
Right?
We were, of
What
course,
do you expect?
just at PAX Unplugged 2022. We did a panel. Why does this game take 4 hours to play? If you somehow missed it or you're curious about the topic, there's video of a similar panel we did at the last PAX Unplugged before COVID called Take Your Fucking Turn, which is on YouTube. You can just watch. I also posted a link to the slides we used from the panel at PAX Unplugged on Sunday. I've been trying to post the slides more and more because I found that people do actually go look at them. I even left one of them with comments on, and people were like leaving comments. Like there were some interesting insights that people like added or asked questions. So I might see if that's a thing we could engage with in some fashion down the road, like sharing the slides more directly and openly.
Anyway.
Yeah.
The next convention that we have any chance of going to is going to be PAX East.
Yep.
The dates are announced. They're what?
Oh, PAX East is going to be, the panel submissions just opened too, and I gotta tell you, they've now migrated the rest of their stuff to Grotix. The panel, for the first time since 2008, when I've submitted panels to every PAX forever, it's a different website now. It's that Grotix backend, the same one we used to use at Kineticon.
Well,
so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, but anyway, March 23rd through 26th, 2023. It's still 4 days.
Yep.
And if you don't know, if you didn't hear the news already, the policy for PAX East is going to be they're not going to check the vax, but they're going to require the mask, right?
Yep.
PAX Unplugged did check the vax. PAX East is not going to check it.
Yep.
And that's that. So...
Yep. So, like I said,
you have to decide on your own if you're gonna go or not go.
Yep. I will.
If that is a factor in your decision.
I significantly expect for us, we or possibly, depending on the pain in the ass of doing this, just me, will show up just to do a few panels and hang out. It is highly unlikely we will be there the entire PAX East.
Anyway, so
all right,
Spy X Family.
This show, among our friends, like people I talk to online, like all the anime people, they were like really into this show after it came out. Like this appeared.
This show is clearly just based on, the buzz of being connected to the internet, right? Is a popular, very, very popular show, right? Around the whole anime communities, right? People love this show. I don't think people were like coming off like this is like the greatest show ever.
Nah.
They weren't coming off like this is a masterpiece. It was just coming off like this is really popular. Like to say,
Like, you know what it is?
Like
this is the kind of show, like, straight up, and Scott and I actually said the same thing kind of at each other when we first watched it. This is the kind of show, when we were running the RT Anime Club, when we found out what it was and watched a little bit of it, we would have instantly just made it the next screening at the Anime Club, because this is the kind of like basic solid B level, like B tier anime that's pretty good. People enjoy it. It would definitely get the crowd riled up. We already can see like specific characters and specific things that would get quoted by the nerds who would watch a show like this. It's just a solid overall okay anime that's kind of funny, kind of serious, well animated. Like it checks all the boxes, but it's not great in any particular domain.
Well, I think what it is that it's a crowd pleaser. Right? It's like it's just it's not fan servicey in a sexual way. There's nothing sexual about this show pretty much whatsoever.
Nope.
Right? But it's fan servicey as like playing to the crowd, like just like having cool anime people doing cool anime stuff. Right. And they've got every different flavor of cool anime stuff going on.
Yep.
So if you're an anime fan, or just, I think even a non-anime fan, it's like, it's just kind of fun, right? It's like, it's not it doesn't challenge the audience or anything like that. It's just a whole lot of fun. It's a perfect anime club kind of show. I can't imagine someone watching it and like disliking it or not having a good time or not being, happy or entertained. That would be weird, right? Because it's just like, it's like sugar, right? It's like cookies. So what's the deal with this show? Well, the title sort of gives it away, right? You got to imagine from the title, there's a spy and the spy has a family, or it's like one of my guesses, but the spy has to make a family for a mission. It's like, yes, that's exactly what it is.
Yep.
Right?
That's pretty much that. And
there's a guy who's a spy, and for some, generic European-ish country, right?
Yeah, there's basically two countries, West and East, and it's vague, and it's
obviously West and East Germany without saying Germany.
Yep,
right?
and there's definitely a Cold War going on, and there's spies all over the place. You get the impression that this place is just lousy with spies.
Yep. And there's this guy is he's the best spy, right? Like the absolute best spy, like, anime, ridiculous levels of power at spying.
Yep.
Right?
Agent
Perfect.
Twilight. He's like the hot anime guy, master of disguise.
Like an absolute genius, perfect skills, perfect disguises, never fails, right? Can take anyone, is just like, even better than, like James Bond, like gets beat up. It's like this guy doesn't really.
No, this guy takes out what? He fights those goons in the art theft thing that he's doing a few episodes in, and he's just like, I can't spend more than 10 seconds per guy that I'm about to beat up. There's 38 of them.
Yeah, it's like Kenshiro levels of power, but obviously much different personality and tone than Fist of the North Star, right?
Yep.
And so this guy has a mission, but in order to do the mission, he has to, right? There's a prestigious boarding type, school of
which reeks of like a Princess Tutu Utena kind of place. There's no allegory. It's not going to do anything clever with this. Like, don't misinterpret what I'm saying.
Yeah,
but
it's just a really, really highbrow, snooty, rich people school.
But to an insane anime degree. Like it is, if the spy stuff is unrealistic, and the fights and things are unrealistic in an anime way, the university is like double unrealistic in terms of how it's portrayed and how it's structured.
Yes. And he has to basically, it's a contrived scenario, right? Where he has to get into this school, which means he needs a child and possibly a spouse,
Yep.
right? To sort of, go to the school, interview, get the child accepted to the school. The child has to pass the very, very rigorous, examinations and application barriers, right? Him and the spouse have to, pass muster and convince the school that they are of, high class, right, individuals. And he doesn't have a spouse or a child, right?
Yep. Nor is he interested in one at this point.
No.
So
I guess spoilers for the earliest parts of the show, right? It kind of need to spoil this to talk about anything.
Yep, because there is a little twist to this concept, because he finds a fake wife, and they get together.
First, he goes to the orphanage to get a daughter, to get a child, and he ends up with this very cute daughter who, unbeknownst to him, and I still don't know if or when he ever finds out, the daughter is literally telepathic. Like, literally. She could just hears everyone's thoughts, right? She can't go to crowded places because it's too many thoughts, right? And she's really cute, and she's not that smart, but she has telepathy, so that makes up for not being so smart.
Yep,
right?
and they animate, like, she's just adorable. They animate her great. She's a really funny character. Like, it's all very well done around her.
Yep, and then it's like, okay, what about the spouse? So there's this, this woman, and she's working in some kind of government office or something, right? And she's very serious and separate from all the other coworkers, but secretly she's an ultimate badass assassin.
Yep.
Right?
She just murders people. It is implied she has killed a lot of people. And what's funny is up until the point where you see her doing her job, you don't really see people like dying in the show. Like, it's kind of like, off-screen stuff. She shows up and just stabs like 8 people in her opening scene almost.
Yeah, she's literally ultra dangerous assassin. She's as good at assassinating as the spy dude is at spying. Just ultimately unbelievable, right? But, at work, she's very serious and boring. When she's assassinating, she's ultra badass, right? And then, when she's just hanging out, she's kind of cute. So you sort of get this, appealing character through having wildly divergent personalities at different times, right?
One thing that I didn't expect that was interesting is they made her like not just an assassin, but like extremely obsessed with and enamored with the artifacts of violence. Like, she almost seems like horny for a sharp knife or a photo of a guillotine. Like, that's her thing. Like, she is just mega assassin.
And so they mysteriously, she takes orders from her brother, right? And she basically goes only into assassin mode when, the brother sends some orders. And, it's like they get into other situations, but they're not related to her mission. So she just goes along with, right, the spy dude who doesn't know she's an assassin, and she doesn't know he's a spy.
So the little girl, that's sort of the
girl is,
and that's the twist that makes the show actually pretty funny and like makes it work, is that it's not like the True Spies movie where they like the plot is when do they figure it out about each other and what are they hiding or all that kind of nonsense. This is more like they are actually completely hiding it from each other. They both have the other one completely fooled. And meanwhile, the little girl knows the full deal with both of them, but simultaneously doesn't want them to know she's psychic, so she doesn't let on.
Yep. And then, of course, the final thing, which, this isn't a spoiler because I don't know. I've only seen 5 episodes.
Yep.
You would have to be really bad at, looking for,
their missions definitely overlap. They're probably both going after the same guy.
Right. It's like, they keep, whenever they show her brother, it's always like she's talking to him on the phone, and they'll cut to like a photo of the brother, but his face will be like hidden.
Yeah.
Like someone's wiener.
Telling you, solid, right? Standard anime doing all that like basic ass anime shit.
It's obvious that the main spy dude's mission is to get the brother, and at the end of the season or whatever, there's going to be a conflict where he's trying to get the brother, and right, and now he's they have to fight with each other and sort things out.
Yep. I imagine the psychic girl is going to be the one who like allows them to sort this out. Like, that's clearly where the show is going. The only thing I can't predict...
The fact that the plot is so transparent doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because that's not why you're watching the show.
That plot is just a vehicle for, like, scenes where they go to apply to the university, and in Utena, like, animal stampede happens, and the headmaster is secretly watching them to decide if their child deserves to be in this prestigious academy for 6-year-olds.
Yeah. The reason you watch this show is because every episode they've got to take the next step in, their mission or whatever.
Yep.
And they come into some ridiculous circumstance that's truly off the wall and wild, right? And they comedically and entertainingly, overcome all these various challenges in ridiculous and entertaining anime style. Like when their clothes get dirty 3 times, it's like, aha, but they brought a 3rd set of clothing. Aha.
And then Mr. Elegant is like, oh, that's beyond elegant. That's terrifying. Ooh, I got to get this girl into my skull.
The anime face, like, ooh. Right?
Yeah, I'm telling you, if you showed this to any anime club for at least 2 weeks, you're gonna have kids running around your club going elegant, elegant, and yelling at each other. That's just how it's gonna go down.
So it's like, the scenario animes kind of thing has been going on for a while, right? But this particular scenario is somewhat unique and clever, well thought out, right? And I think that helps it a lot.
It's legitimately funny.
All right. And then despite being very cliche and leaning heavily into the anime tropes, it executes them very well, right? It's not, it's well animated, at least for what it is, right?
Yeah.
It's
doing the thing with like
good.
a bunch of, there's a set of side characters, and you get the impression they're going to introduce more of them as time goes on. Like, not just Mr. Elegant, but like the fuzzy-haired sidekick to the agent guy.
Fuzzy-haired spy agency guy, yeah.
They got like the weird-looking background characters that younger anime fans like to low-key obsess over, which is just the thing anime fans have always done in America. And I feel like
that's another strength of this show is that, you see a lot of anime where there's, a whole bunch of characters, and it's typical, I think, for main characters to sort of be boring, right? And not have a lot of, wild, different personality or anything.
Yeah.
They're, like, supposed to be ultra relatable, like blank slate kind of deal.
The
side characters are interesting and awesome, whereas in this show, every character is interesting and awesome and different it's like all side characters, basically.
Yep. Like, you get the jerk guy who works for the school who's like, I don't like these people because they're young and hot, so fuck them, and make sure the kid doesn't get into the school.
Yep. But the kid gets in anyway. Spoilers.
Of course, yeah.
This is not a show where you're watching it because you don't know what's going to happen. It's like, what's going to happen from episode 1 if you're an adult.
And the other thing, it really does check all the boxes of a solid, typical upper echelon but not great or memorable anime. Like, the opener, fantastic, like, has a really good opener. The closer's cute. The opener and closer are like stereotypical standard anime opener and closer for this kind of show. It is just everything is done adequately, but nothing is done to any sort of like S tier or memorable degree.
Yeah, so I think, like, if you're a younger anime fan or you're an anime fan who has someone to watch the show with, you should definitely do that. If you're an older anime fan, I guess, you don't have to run out and watch the show immediately, but it's like, if you need a show to fill some time, you could do a lot worse.
Well, it's interesting because it's scratched. I don't think I'm going to watch it all anytime soon, but I might occasionally watch an episode and kind of go a little bit beyond where I watched because it scratched an itch that hasn't been scratched for me in a while. Because we're older. We don't watch as much anime. We're much more selective about what we watch. And the thing that this show did for me is I watched one episode and it scratched that itch of, hey, you want to watch an anime? Like, hey, want to see some anime, kid? It just scratched that itch. It felt like how I felt when I watched a typical anime a long time ago when I was younger. Because usually when I watch a show, I'm only watching a show that like has accolades or like there's some specific reason to watch it. Like Cyberpunk is going to be a very different type of show and type of review. And I'm going to watch it, approach it, and enjoy it in a very different way from like this kind of show.
Now, I am curious about the manga for this, which I believe...
Still going, I guess.
And is still going. And the show is now going to have a second season. So I'm curious if A, is the plot resolution going to be resolved at the end of season 1? Will there be a new plot, right? Like, what's going to happen? I'm just guessing here, right? It's not a spoiler if I'm just guessing based on common logic. Everyone realizes the truth, and that, they started out doing this as a business arrangement, but actually they end up loving each other and wanting to stay together as a family.
Yep.
Season 2 is what? They're the awesome family who now knows everything now.
If I had to guess, I would guess that they figure out the girl is psychic as part of the resolution of the first plot, which, if I would assume, is going to be the end of season 1. And then season 2 probably picks up with the 3 of them know each other's deal, and now it's them against the world, but openly.
Yeah, they're all now they're no longer just, I think, like, in their minds in the in the first season, right, is like they entered into this relationship with each other for their own reasons.
Oh, they already gave us the scene in episode like 2 or 3 where Twilight like watches the 2 of them interacting, and he just has this moment where he's like, and he like looks at another family that are being happy, and you can see 100% where the show's going from that.
Yeah, exactly, right? It's like he did this just for his mission. She did this for what? Like, because she had trouble with her friends at that party or something, right?
Oh, yeah.
The coworkers, she needed to bring a boyfriend to the party to show them what for. And obviously the girl, right, is doing this because, she doesn't want to go back to the orphanage, right? And she likes them as parents. She's like, yes, finally got some good parents.
I got cool parents. One of them's an assassin. One of them's a spy. Fuck yeah, because she's into spy shows.
Right. And so, everyone's in this arrangement for their own reason, but obviously, they're going to grow into actually all loving each other as a family and staying together, right? Surprise. That's 100% guaranteed to happen, right? So if all that stuff happens in season 1 and the manga keeps going and the anime keeps going, right, you got to presume that either A, not all of those things happen so quickly, or B, they go on to some other plot where the family is together, they all understand each other, and they have another challenge, some conflict.
I feel like getting to that point would be important, because then that like right now, there's a lot of jokes around. You've got a little girl, a precocious little girl who's honestly kind of like she's dumb like a kid. That's why you're kids, because you're stupid. But because she's psychic, she can kind of fake it. And like her interactions with adults, because of the fact that she's psychic, are actually surprising and funny. But I think the next evolution of that is the parents know she's psychic. How the fuck do they parent her now knowing this?
Right. Well, I think it helps that she's not bad. Right?
Yeah, she's definitely not bad. She is a good girl trying to do good.
I think it would also be kind of awesome, right? It's like once they know, they'll do some kind of spy mission, and they'll be like, hey, go listen to that guy's thoughts. Tell me what he thinks.
But you imagine they'll also have situations like, hey, we're a husband and wife, and we figured out our deal, and we want to go have some alone times, but we can't think about that while our daughter is within like a kilometer of us.
They could make a biological baby between them, right? And then you can get some pregnant assassin action, and you could, some lady.
What season 2 might be?
Snowblood.
It might be figure out the origin of her psychic powers, or protect her from the plot that predates the show of, she was part of an experiment. Like, where did she get her powers from? And there was a character who looked like a redheaded woman, I think, in the opener, who was stylized, that looked like she was spying on the family. I wonder if that's her real mom, or like the scientist that made her, or like there's something there. If that's in the opener, that might come up in season 1.
The point is, it's not hard to carry this scenario on for quite a while, as long as they're still making money, and their show is making money. They're selling mangas, they're selling merch.
I mean, I can't stress enough how this show flooded my social media like for a couple months after it came out, and I still see random people just talk about it.
Fan arts, I see, I see memes, and so yeah, it's a hot new, not too new. Newer anime manga that's
it's from 2022. It's new to GeekNights.
It's a fun time. It's just not a legendary great anime of all time.
Yeah, so if you already got a Crunchyroll account, there's no reason not to watch a few episodes of this.
Yeah.
I would not buy a Crunchyroll account just to watch this, however.
But if you buy a Crunchyroll account to watch something else, watch this also.
Yeah. All right, end the stream.
All right. I tried to go away from the microphone when I was coughing, but